Okay. Hey everybody, I'm Brian Yanish. I am an author and an illustrator. Sorry about the hold up there. I was trying to figure out how to do Facebook Live from the computer. Nearly impossible, but I'll figure it out later. So I'm doing this from my phone. Anyway, hi to everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I know that it's been a crazy week for everybody. But we're here now, and hopefully we can do a fun little art project. Talk about children's books, talk about ScrapKins. ScrapKins is the recycled arts program that I created about 10 years ago. Let me grab the book. And I have this book called Junk Re-Thunk, which is all about turning ordinary junk and recyclables into stuff that you could play with or art. So parents, kids, teachers, if you have this book, there are 24 projects inside here, which should keep you busy for a while. In fact, if one of you can do all 24 projects and send me a photo of them, there's got to be some kind of prize. But this took me a long time to create this, so now's the time to really dive into some of these really interesting step-by-step projects. Here's a water strider that actually floats on the water. So there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I am also the author of this book, Pirate Chicken, which is a picture book, which is just sort of a silly story about a chicken named Lily who becomes the captain of a pirate ship. Pretty interesting story. So what we're going to do today, though, is we're actually going to do some hands-on stuff. We're going to get making, which is my favorite thing to do. Shout out to the Rainbow Montessori School if you're online. Hi to you. Hello to Emil and Theo. Maybe there's some folks from Heim Elementary. I was supposed to see them on Monday to do a school visit. Obviously, I'm not going to be there. You're not going to be there, so you get to see me now. And hi to all the schools in Rochester, which is where I am. Shout out to English Village Elementary in Greece. I was just there a few weeks ago. And hi to everybody around the world. I might have some folks from the UK. So if you are here and you are watching this, please tell your friends that we're doing this because it hasn't been working through the website. So if you can send the link to somebody on how to get online to watch this, then that would be great because I haven't figured out how to do that. So, Ryan and Johnny Ellen from Florida. Hi guys, how are you? Okay, so we are going to start with a basic craft project. We are going to use the toilet paper tube, which is universal. Everybody has these at home, toilet paper tubes. We also have the long ones, which are the paper towel tubes. Same thing. I really like using these a lot because you can be very creative with them. I think of these little tubes as action figures. So what we're going to do is if you do not have your tube, go and get it. Grab a pair of scissors, grab some markers. If you just give me 2 minutes, I'm just going to check online to make sure we get a few more people on the program. So go grab your materials, hang out for 2 minutes. I will be right back. Back. Sorry about that. I was trying to get a few more people on board. They are slowly going to trickle in as we figure this out. So thanks for your patience. Okay. So you should be using a small tube for today's project. If you happen to have a long tube, just cut it in half. You can make multiple projects, or you can make a longer character. What we're going to do is we're going to do a tube monster. It kind of looks like this character right here. It's basically making a little creature from an ordinary tube. This is one of the first projects that I ever created, and it's one of my favorites, so it forms the basis for a lot of projects I make. Sometimes we can put the plastic bag on here to make the parachute, but today we're just going to create our own character because since I like to write and draw as a children's book author and illustrator, coming up with the character is my favorite thing. Once we create the character, we can figure out some features about them, some characteristics, and then maybe we could write a story. So today we're just going to build our actual character. So I've got a couple examples of characters I've made from tubes over the years. This tube is a little flat because he's been lying at the bottom of the box. Here's a really tiny one. And I've used crayons and paints to actually really decorate these and make these little characters come to life. Here's one of the ScrapKins. This is Rex. His head is a piece of egg carton, and we added a little hinge using a, what do you call that? A brad or a paper fastener, so we can make his head open and close like that. So we can do things like that. We can create actual characters. Here's one that I never showed anybody. This is Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I was just playing around with different ways to use this tube to make characters. So a couple other ones, of course, we can go into the Star Wars stuff a little bit later. Stormtrooper, Princess Leia, Spider-Man. So as you can see, you can use these tubes to make all sorts of characters. So we've got our tube. First thing we're going to do is we're going to squash this flat, like so. Once we have a flat tube, it's much easier to cut. So that's the reason why we flatten it. So then we can take our scissors and we can actually cut off a little section of this tube, like so. Okay, so we've got this ring. Sort of looks like a bionic robot eye. Okay, so we're actually going to use this piece as the arms for the character that we're creating. So the tube is actually the body of our character. These are going to be the arms. Set this down. We're going to take our scissors. We're going to make one snip like this to open this up like so. And then these are going to be the arms that go on our character. Now what I like to do sometimes, since I like to make creatures and monsters, since the ScrapKins are monster characters. In fact, let me show you some of those creatures. Those of you who are not familiar with the ScrapKins characters who are on the front of the book, this is actually Itcher, who kind of looks like a hairy ghost. Very silly character. But the cool thing about these characters, who you will find inside the book, there they are right there. There are 6 characters called the ScrapKins who live in this world full of junk. And they're the ones who are showing you how to make all this stuff. They told me, and now I'm telling you, on how to make all this stuff from junk. So, what I wanted to show you is that these actual creatures started from drawings that I did when I was a kid, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, 7, 8. Favorite thing to draw was monsters. This is the way the ScrapKins looked when I first created them. So this is the original drawing of Rex. Now, he wasn't named Rex back then. He was just a ordinary dinosaur. So I like to show these to kids because this is a good example of you never know what your creations are going to grow up to become. I didn't know this was going to be Rex. I didn't know that he was going to be part of the ScrapKins. So this is kind of fun to show you guys what the ScrapKins looked like when I first created them. That was Digger. In fact, fun fact, this was actually drawn on a birthday card that I made for my brother many, many years ago. And somebody saved the card, and I really liked that drawing, so this drawing became the basis for the character Digger. That's what Swooper used to look like back in the day. You can see very colorful, lots of filling in with crayons. There is Stacker with the original 5 eyes. Actually, when I first created Stacker, he was not wearing glasses. I added the glasses later on. There's Chomper. What Chomper originally looked like. Was not carrying a mailbox at the time. But you can still see, it really looks like I just did that when I was like 6 years old, which is really when I did it. And there, of course, is Itcher, the hairy ghost who collects dirty laundry. So I actually used the original drawings as a basis for the way the characters look today. So there's Itcher when I first created him, and there on the cover is the way Itcher looks now. Same shape, same amount of eyes, same coloring, but I was using the original drawings as models for the way the characters look today so I could write stories about them. So anytime you create a drawing, who knows what that character could become. So, sorry, that was a little bit of a little path, a little journey down a different path. We're going to go back to our tube here. We have the arms, which those of you who are just joining us, what we did was we took a tube, we cut off one little ring from the tube, and then we took our scissors and snipped this so this opens up like so. So these are going to be the arms of this little creature that we're going to create. So what I was saying, what I like to do with my arms, since I like to draw monsters, is I like to take my scissors and I cut little triangles out of the ends of this little strip. So you can see now I've got these little claw fingers. If I wanted to do regular fingers, I could just do little snips like this to make these look like basic little fingers. So we've got our arms and we've got our body. Now the way we're going to attach our arms is all we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors, we're going to make 2 cuts down the side of the tube. 1, 2. Then we can slide our arms in like so. And my favorite part is to actually start doing the decorating. So you can lay down your character flat and start coloring this in any way you would like. Doesn't have to be a monster. Could be Harry Potter, could be Wonder Woman, could be Mr. Bonkers, a character you just made up. You're going to start using markers and crayons to actually decorate this tube. Now, sometimes what I will do is I will take colored paper or whatever scrap paper I happen to have around and add something to my character. Maybe I want to make the whole thing pink, so maybe I'll wrap it in pink. Maybe I want it to have pink hair. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my crayons, and I've got a couple of markers. I'm going to start drawing on my tube. I'm going to take out the arms for a second. Sometimes it's a little easier. So I'm just laying down my tube, and I am just drawing a little creature. I'm going to draw a 3-eyed monster today, right on the tube, just so we can start making this character come to life. So I just started with 3 eyes on my creature. Again, this is your design. Make whatever kind of character you like. I'm going to draw a mouth. He's pretty happy today. Although he's stuck in the house, he gets to hang out with you guys, which is fun. So he likes that. So we start to add these little details that bring our character to life. I'm gonna add some color for my character. So I'm gonna take out some crayons, just do some decorating. Now, as I create my character, I often like to think about, you know, what my character is like and what my character does every day. Does my character live in a cave? Do they fly through the air to search for food? These are all things that you get to make up when you create your own character and you create your own stories. It's entirely up to you and your imagination, because every one of your favorite characters was actually created by somebody. They made all this stuff up. So when you make your own character, you get to create who they are and what they do. So sometimes I like to think of, does my creature have a superpower? Can they shoot lightning out of their eyes? Can they guess what your favorite color is, or what you're doing? So that's a fun thing to think about. Maybe you want to give your creature a name. So my three-eyed character, I think we're going to call him, let's call him Skipper. I don't know where I got that from. I just made that up. So Skipper is the name of my creature. And because the creature is named Skipper, I think it would be cool if, here's how Skipper's coming. We just started to color him in. Is he can skip across the surface of the water super fast. So when he wants to go and travel far distances, he uses this superpower to skim across the surface of the ocean or the water, and he can travel great places. Now, one of the other cool things that you can do is you've got a name for your character, you've got some superpowers. What does your character really like to do? Do they like to play video games? Do they like to build stuff? Do they like to eat bananas? Do they like to, do all those other things? Those are some of the things that you get to come up with when you create your own character. So I've got Skipper. We know Skipper can bounce across the surface of the hour. That's Skipper's superpower. The other thing is, sometimes what makes an interesting character is your character scared of something? Like, if I suddenly make Skipper really afraid of puddles, then that kind of creates some interesting conflict if I'm going to write a story. Because let's say he's okay with the ocean, but he doesn't like puddles, which is sort of silly. So what happens when he encounters a puddle? Suddenly we've got something interesting that's going to happen. How is he going to get across this puddle using his skipping superpowers if he's terrified of puddles? So give your characters some interesting traits, what they are afraid of, what they really like to do, maybe something they hate. Maybe Skipper really hates eating chocolate. I know that's really strange, but it could be something that happens with your character, and all these little details will bring your character to life. So I'm going to do a little more work on the arms. I think I'm going to use a marker to kind of outline some fingernails. So I'm just going to draw a line here so I know where the fingernails are, and then I'm going to color those. So the nice thing about creating a character is that I've done this hundreds of times, and this is often a good exercise if you are trying to come up with a new way of playing, or you need to occupy yourself. Come up with a new character and create a new story about them. So we're going to keep coloring Skipper's arms here. I think what I might do is, I think I'm going to give Skipper a set of wings, because when he gets to that puddle that he really is scared of, maybe he'll fly over the puddle. He skips over the ocean, he flies over the puddle. Very strange, I know. So Skipper's starting to come together. So I'm going to use this extra piece of paper to start to add some things to my character. So I'm going to give Skipper some wings. So maybe I will just take a marker or a pencil and draw some wings. Take my scissors, cut these out like so. Now we can attach the wings using tape. We could use glue. Glue might take a little bit longer to dry, so we're gonna tape these on. Where's my tape? Okay. Add a little more tape so these don't fly away. And I'm going to adjust Skipper's arms. So Skipper's starting to come together. I think I might give Skipper some crazy hair because that likes to blow in the wind while he's skipping or flying. So I'm just going to grab some yellow paper, whatever I happen to have. This is the most fun thing about using recycled materials is sometimes I do some planning, but sometimes I just grab a bunch of things and I see what I can come up with. So I may go into my recycling bin and see what's in here. Here's a box that had crackers in it. I didn't eat all the crackers in one day. It took me a while to get through the box, just so don't be concerned. Here's an egg carton. As I showed you, if you cut off one of these little egg cups, it makes a really good helmet for one of our characters that we're making on our tube. In fact, we may do that at another class. Here's a pasta box. We can save that. So I like to save interesting shapes that I can use to build stuff with. Sometimes I don't know what I'm making yet, but I still save it. Okay, so back to Skipper's hair. I'm going to take a little piece of yellow paper and we will cut some fringes in it to make some hair. If any of you kids would like to share the name of the creature you are building, I'd love to hear it. You can share it in the comments and we'll see who is making what character. Okay, so I've got some hair here and I'm just going to tape it inside my tube. Put this piece of tape on first. Okay, so I think Skipper is starting to come to life, right? He's got this really awesome hair that, you know, will sort of blow in the wind as he's skipping or flying. Maybe we'll give Skipper some feet. Looks like John is making Waterhead. Sounds very interesting. Miss Eye Cream. That's another good name. Mr. Three-Eyed Vampire. Okay, this is awesome, you guys. You really can come up with whatever you want. I think I'm going to give Skipper a tail. I just decided Skipper needs a tail, and then we're going to do some feet. So I am going to make my tail out of another section of tube. I'm just going to cut off a little piece here. And I want a really long tail. So again, we're using the same technique that we did the arms with. So we have this really long tube. Or I'm sorry, this piece of cardboard. I got distracted by trying to read comments. So, okay. It's like multitasking. Okay, so I am going to do a pointed tail. And let's see. I have a little bit of white paper here. We're going to use that. We are going to tape this on the end of our tail. Let's see. Okay, I'm happy with the way that looks. Maybe I'll just trim off this extra piece. So it's this little pointed tail. Maybe I'll make the tail red. So, grab my red crayon here. Again, use whatever you have. Whatever kind of colors or materials that you have. This is really the mission of the ScrapKins program, is to kind of create with what you have. Don't go to the store to buy anything. You probably can't go to the store anyway. I can't. So I'm using what I have. I'm being really creative. Okay, color in the tail. Okay, so I got this super long tail with a pointy end. Dante is making Godzilla. Pretty awesome. Serena created the flipper. Nice. Very awesome. Good names, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to cut a little slot in the back of my tube, and if I make a little notch in my tail, I'm going to slide these two slots together like so, and then I've got this tail on the back of Skipper. I think we're going to give Skipper some feet. It's kind of hard to walk when you're just a tube, so it helps to have flippers or some feet. So we're going to use a flat piece of cardboard for the feet. So I have this tissue box. Yeah, you could make this out of colored paper or whatever kind of cardboard you have. And I'm going to take my scissors and cut out a little piece of cardboard. Now, what I like about this box is that it's got this really cool pattern on it already, this kind of swirly green pattern. And instead of coloring over that or using the other side, I'm actually going to use that pattern already. So I like that. So let's go ahead and use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the bottom of my tube character on this flat piece of cardboard and just kind of trace around it, or not trace directly the shape of the tube, but I'm going to go out a little farther because I'm going to draw these feet, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. This way I know kind of how big my feet are going to be. So if I'm trying to show you how to do this, let's see. Okay. So I'm going to take a marker and I'm kind of draw these two pointed feet that are sticking out. Kind of like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to use our scissors to clean it up. So then I can take my scissors and cut around like so. This is probably the only part that I will really use the glue for because it takes a little bit of time to dry. If you want to tape it on, you can as well. But I like my feet never to fall off, particularly when I'm walking, so that's why I use glue. So I'm going to glue these right on like that. So I'm going to put some glue on the bottom of the tube and then stick my feet in place. Come on, glue. Okay. Just going right around the edge like that. Then I can stick my feet on. Like so. And then I'm just going to put my character to the side and let the glue dry. And then my feet are not going to fall off. And so I am pretty happy that character is coming together. Looks like Emil's creature is called Scrapbone. Very cool. I love hearing the names of the different characters. That is super fun to do. So while I am sort of waiting for that to dry, maybe I'll show you guys some other things that we can do with our characters once we are done creating them. So give me a second, I'm going to go grab a few things. Okay. So now that I've created a character, I can start to build things about the world that Skipper lives in. So we may want to create some sort of vehicle or some mode of transportation. How does Skipper get around? We already know that he skips and he flies, but maybe he also wants to take a boat somewhere. Maybe he gets tired of skipping all the time. So we can use other materials to create things like ships. This is actually a pirate ship from my first book, which is around here somewhere. The Build It book. Inside here is the, where is that? The milk carton pirate ship, still one of my favorite projects. And it was one of the first ones I came up with. So we use a milk carton as the body of our ship, and we use a straw as a mast for our ship. This actually has space for 2 masts. Our sail is a cardboard tube. This is a piece of egg carton. This is called the crow's nest on a ship. This is where the sailors would climb up the mast, get into the crow's nest so they could see far out over the ocean. So this is just a milk carton that we created this boat out of. Maybe we can do this as a project sometime. You can certainly leave a comment if you want to learn how to make the boat. So what's cool about making a boat or a vehicle is that now we've got Skipper. Skipper goes on the boat. And then we can write a story about Skipper taking a voyage across the puddle that he's terrified of. Because he's got a way of getting around. So building up little elements of the world that the character lives in is how we create stories. So I often like to, once I create a character, is build the place that they live in. So if I'm thinking about that cracker box, maybe this would make a very cool house for Skipper to live in. So maybe I could create some doors and some windows. I could decorate this. I could cover it with paper. Really turn this into a little village for where Skipper and maybe his friends live. And then maybe we'll write a story about that. So I actually have created a couple of worksheets which will help you define your character. And I will post those on my Facebook ScrapKins page. And it basically looks like this. This is where you draw a picture of your character after you've created them. And it has these little boxes that you can fill in about your character. My creature's mission is, maybe it's to collect ice cubes. I don't know. Its favorite thing to do, chew gum. Thing it is most afraid of, we talked about this before, maybe it's afraid of ghosts. Skipper happens to be afraid of puddles. My creature's special power, Skipper can skip across the surface of the ocean. My creature eats whatever your creature likes to eat, bananas, pizza, etc. And of course we put our character's name up here. And this is kind of a character building worksheet. And once we create all these things, then we have all these interesting traits or descriptions of the personality of our character. And then I will often take this and write a story about it. What happens in a day in the life of this particular character? I mean, maybe the character is going, maybe the story is going to be Skipper versus the giant puddle. And what's he going to do? So we've started to create something interesting in the life of this character, and they've come to life, and then we can actually create a story about them. So these are the types of things I like to do when I build stuff out of junk. I like to create creatures. I like to create vehicles. I like to make things that I can play with. So what I would recommend to you as you're just kind of hanging out at home, being very kind to your parents and your brothers and sisters, I know, is see what you can come up with. See if you can create some really interesting creations from some ordinary recycled materials. Maybe you want to work on a story about the creature that you happen to create. If you happen to go to ScrapKins.com, which is my website, you can find some more videos there about different things that you can create from junk. We have a video for this box puppet, which is actually using that tissue box I kind of just showed you. And you can actually make a pretty cool hand puppet just from a shoebox or a cereal box, whatever you happen to have. You'll find this video also on YouTube if you search ScrapKins. So what I would say is challenge yourself to see what you can create and come up with. And if you want to share your pictures to the ScrapKins Facebook page, I would love to see what you're working on. If you have any suggestions for things that you want to see in the future, we're going to try to get up the live stream working again from my computer, which I didn't get a chance to do today. So this was just done from the phone. So hopefully we'll have more people joining us. And just stay positive, stay creative, and I will send everybody a message on when we're going to do our next video sometime next week. So thanks for joining me, everybody. I hope you have a good weekend. And I'm thinking about all of you. So take care. Thanks for joining me today. And please send me pictures of your work. Bye-bye.